Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. East Coast time on Wednesday morning, Wu-Tang Wednesday. Welcome to Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. I'm so happy to be with you today. As you can see, I'm not in my home office. I'm in a hotel room in Nashville, Tennessee. Just finished up a great conference, getting ready to head back home. But before I do, of course, I had to do my Wednesday Live because we're going to be here Wednesday. Now, today's topic is something that I think is really important that we need to start discussing, and I'm going to spend some more time in the coming weeks and coming months talking about the topic of workplace injustice. Now, before I get into defining workplace injustice, I want to tell you a little story. And when I say tell you a little story, this is not Law and Order SVU, but these are the stories of real life people who are going through challenges in the workplace. And I'm going to give you an example. So there was this organization where you had a senior leader. Let's say her name is Trina, okay? Trina was a senior leader in the organization for a very long time. And when I mean very long time, let's say she's been there 5 years. And I'm just saying, just say she's been there because I'm trying to protect the names of the innocent to keep you from being able to figure out who I'm talking about, where I'm talking about, et cetera. And I haven't asked their permission to be able to tell this story in this way. But I want to share it with you as best as I can, okay? So Trina is a senior leader, been there for 5 years. She's one of the highest rated leaders in the organization. So her team loves her. She gets great evaluations. She wins awards for performance. Like, she is doing her job. She's doing her job well. Well, there's a new person who comes into the C-suite that Trina now has to report to. And this new person, let's say her name is Jennifer, okay? So Jennifer is a now senior leader over Trina. And so they're supposed to be working together. Well, Trina is not a typical leader, if you will. And when I mean typical leader, she doesn't lead by motivation. She doesn't lead by inspiration. She's not a rah-rah. She's not a bully. She's very mild-mannered, soft-spoken, and she spends her time getting to know the people on her team. She literally does what I teach every day, which is a leader's first responsibility is to get to know the people that you lead, because it's hard to motivate people that you don't know. So she spends her time getting to know her team because they are responsive. They don't need rah-rah motivation. They don't need to be inspired to work. They really love what they do. They have a boss who knows them and gets obstacles out of the way so they can do their job to the best of their ability. That's who Trina was. So Trina is doing this, but her new boss, Jennifer, doesn't like her approach to leadership. See, Jennifer grew up in a toxic workplace culture. Jennifer is used to top-down command and control leadership, that you do what I say do, when I say do it, the way that I say do it. That's how she came up. And that's actually how she rose up from being a low-level employee all the way on up to the C-suite. So now she's in this new organization trying to repeat these same bad behaviors that she learned in her organization that she thought was good behaviors, but she's bringing them into a new culture with Trina, who doesn't operate like that. So after about 6 months of these two personalities and leadership styles clashing, Jennifer says, I don't like you, Trina. I don't like how you lead. You don't talk the way that I talk. I don't think we're aligned anymore. And I think you need a coach. So Jennifer says that Trina needs a coach. Trina doesn't need a coach. Again, as I told you, she's winning awards. She's a top tier leader inside this organization. I mean, like top tier, like in the top 10. Out of 400 leaders, she was like number 8 out of 400. She's doing phenomenal work. But her boss comes in and says, you need a coach. Trina says, I don't need a coach, but if you want to pay for a coach, I'm happy to go to a coach because I want to improve. I want to get better. So the coach gets hired. Trina talks to the coach, and the coach says, Trina, you're a phenomenal leader. I don't know why you're even with me. I don't see anything you need to improve on. I think you're doing well. And in their conversations, it starts to go back to the behaviors of Jennifer. Now, we're talking 6 months of coaching. So now a year has gone by. Trina's there for 6 years. Jennifer's there for 1 year, and they still are not getting along. And Jennifer's doing all kinds of things. So then Jennifer decides that I don't like Trina and I want her off my team. So what does she do when she says that? Well, first of all, she didn't say it to herself. She said it to some other leaders in a meeting where Trina was not present. So you now have 4 or 5 other senior level leaders who hears that Jennifer doesn't like Trina. They hear it. And then they say to her, well, you know, Trina is a high performing leader. She's doing a great job. Her numbers are up. She's hitting all of her goals. She just won the innovation award last year. And Jennifer says, I don't care if she wins the Nobel Prize. I don't want her on my team. So what happens next is what I want to spend the rest of my time talking about today. And that is a workplace injustice. Now, some people might call it harassment. Some people might call it bullying. Some people might call it, incivility. They might come up with a bunch of different terms of what I'm about to explain to you happens every day in the workplace. But the big point is, it is an injustice. So what this person begins to do to Trina, she begins to call her out in meetings for things that she didn't do. Blame her for things that were going wrong that was somebody else's responsibility. In public meetings, in front of people. Continue to antagonize her. Then proceeded the next time they did evaluations to give her a bad evaluation on stuff that ain't even related to her job performance. And so now Trina is stressing because like I'm doing a good job. I was doing a good job, but all of a sudden now I go from a 5.0 evaluation down to a 3. So then it continues on. There are other things that start to happen. One example of what happens is that she knows that Trina's doing a good job and Trina's enjoying work and Trina's having success. But this is what she does next. And that she says, you know what? I don't like the way this department is structured. So we're going to reorganize the department. So in the reorganization of the department, what does she do? She rewrites Trina's job description and puts in a requirement and a licensure that Trina doesn't have. Really not even a licensure. Let me be real about it. It was a degree that you had to have a higher level terminal degree in order to be able to have this role. And so now you have an incumbent in the job who's doing great at the job, but her department and her job description has been rewritten to a place where she technically doesn't qualify. So then Jennifer says, you know what? You can reapply for your job. I mean, you are the incumbent, but we really need the whole department to be shaped this way so we can get more efficiency. But because you're already in the job, you can apply for the job. Well, in reality, she could apply for it, but she don't meet the minimum qualifications for the position anymore, even after successfully doing the job for 6.5, almost 7 years. Now, all of those other leaders who were read into what Jennifer wanted to do a year and a half ago saw all of this go on, saw this injustice happening in real time. It wasn't immediate. It was a slow moving train that she basically kind of did this all methodically over a year's time. And the rest of those leaders did absolutely nothing about it. They watched it happen. Now, I know some of you out there saying, that sounds crazy, Anton. That don't even sound real. Well, let me be honest about it. I believe that you have seen similar types of injustices in your workplace. Now, maybe it ain't as severe as what I just laid out to you, but I'm certain you know somebody who's been passed over for a promotion that deserved it. I'm certain that you know somebody who always gets the benefit of the doubt, where someone else who's in the same role never gets the benefit of the doubt. When they're late, when a project is not on time, when a deliverable is not done, when goals are not hit. Some people are marginal performers for years and they continue to keep their jobs. But let you not hit one of your goals and you don't get your bonus this year, and then next year you're being managed out of the organization. We all have seen injustices happen. So whether it's harassment, bullying, ostracism, whether it's just straight up mistreatment, physical violence, we all have seen injustices happen. But the question is, why don't you do anything about it when you see it? Or why haven't you done anything about it? Well, there's several reasons why people don't do anything about injustice. Is number one, you're afraid of retaliation. See, in this circumstance that I just laid out, Jennifer was a senior leader who was supported and coveted by the CEO. So everyone knew that they couldn't cross Jennifer, because if they did, then that means they would get on the bad side of the CEO. And they didn't want to be on the bad side of the CEO because they know that would create more problems. And so you had this culture, toxic culture in this organization where one leader, Jennifer, could never do anything wrong. And anytime she pointed her arrows at somebody else, that person was going to be gone or in trouble. So I know you've seen these things and you don't want to be the target of the retaliation. So you may not say anything. Or maybe you're worried about that your stuff ain't too tight. And so the last thing you want to do is to stand up for somebody else. And then all of a sudden they start looking at your nest egg and see that you don't have all of your stuff together. There's a lot of reasons why people fail to stand up to injustice in the workplace. But I want you to know now it's wrong. Not the injustice. We know the injustice is wrong. But what's more wrong is that you won't stand up to injustice and do something about it. You won't. And this is why so many organizations are toxic, because we'll just run out and quit or go get a job somewhere else rather than standing up to the injustice. And when you think you leave and you go to another job, somehow it's gotten better. No, it ain't get any better. The people you left behind are still experiencing injustice. The culture is still toxic. People are still being damaged every day by what's going on. So you can't sit idly by and watch bad stuff happen anymore. We need everybody to speak up, to stand up, to say something, to respond to the injustice and let people know that's not okay. It's not okay to do people dirty in the workplace. It's not okay to mistreat people in the workplace. And I know we know sexual harassment and, in any violation of Title VII or Title VI, we know all of these things are wrong. Disability, or treating people differently because of their race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation. We know all of those things are wrong, right? Those are the ones that get us in litigation. But I'm not talking about that severity. I'm talking about the everyday slights that happen to people that we know are wrong, that we see go down, but we don't have the confidence, courage, or capability to do something about it. We don't. And I'm not being holier than thou. Past times in my career, I've seen injustices happen, and I didn't have the confidence, capability, or the competency to do something about it. I didn't know. But when you know better, you must do better. So today, I want to give you 5 strategies, 5 ways that you can stand up to workplace injustice. And the reason why I'm giving them to you today, because I want you to know better so you can do better. There should be no excuse. You can't allow injustice to happen in any workplace and you not do something about it. And I'm going to tell you what doing something about it looks like. 5 simple strategies, and I'm not going to be with you long. because I'm in a beautiful city of Nashville, Tennessee, and I got a few more hours before I leave, and I really want to get a little bit of work done and take in this beautiful city before I roll out. So here's the first thing that you need to do if you want to stand up to injustice, if you want to be a leader who makes it right. The first thing is you need to gather evidence. That's right. Gather evidence. You need to be like, Inspector Gadget, or you need to be like Benson and Stabler. You need to be like Detective Finn Tutuola. Yeah, I'm naming a lot of police officers because they got to gather evidence. You need to be like the district attorney too. You need to gather evidence. So what does gathering evidence actually looks like? Well, you need to document when you see the injustice happen. If you saw that Jennifer said something foul to Katrina in front of other people while you were in a meeting, make note of it on your notepad or your paper and your phone that today is Wednesday, May 1st at 9:16 a.m. And I was leaving this meeting and I heard Jennifer say to Trina, "You make me sick. I can't stand the way you run a meeting." Document. Document everything. Gather all kinds of evidence. If somebody comes up to you and tells you something else, man, I just left Trina and she was in tears because she told me what Jennifer said to her. If that person told you that, this ain't the court of law. This ain't really like hearsay, but you now have evidence that a third person is aware of what is happening to Trina. You have that evidence. So I want you to document and gather as much evidence as possible. If there are emails or paper trail, gather all of that. But if you know that the evaluation criteria is A, B, and C, and Trina has done well on A, B, and C, but now Jennifer is trying to write her up for X, Y, and Z, which is not a part of the evaluation criteria, you need to document that. Gather evidence. Make sure you get it down on paper. Keep it in a notebook, in a file, in your phone. If there are photos you can take photos. You want to capture as much as you can. This called citizen journalism today. So I heard that on the news the other day, that we in the era of citizen journalism where everybody got their phone out, we're videotaping and recording everything. You're not doing this for journalistic purposes. You're doing this so you can stop injustice from happening. So that's the first thing. Gather evidence. Now, the second thing, this is going to sound interesting to you. I want you to choose your battles. So when I say choose your battles, you will exhaust yourself. And when I mean exhaust yourself, you will exhaust yourself if at every little, small, tiny instance of injustice, you always got something to say. Now, I know it sounds contrary when I'm saying this, but when I'm saying choose your battles, is that you want to document all of the small things, but when something is as big as like trying to rob somebody of their bonus, or they're going to promote a low performer to a senior position, that's a battle that you might want to take on. But the small little slights, you want to document those, gather evidence, build a long laundry list of things that this person is saying and doing wrong. But when it comes to a big decision, you want to pick the battle of when to say something. And sometimes saying something doesn't necessarily mean calling people out. It might mean calling people in. See, calling them out is putting them on blast in front of everybody else. I'm not saying always put people on blast. Sometimes you might say, "Hey, Jennifer, can I schedule 30 minutes with you?" You schedule 30 minutes with Jennifer. You walk into her office and you lay out all of the things that you have documented that she is doing wrong and say, "I need you to stop treating Trina that way. Trina is a good employee. Trina is doing her job. And I see that you are making a case against her that ain't right. You being unfair to her. You being unjust to her. And I've seen it happen on these 5 instances. You can say that one-on-one in a meeting, because here's what might happen. Bullies usually will let up when they get caught by somebody that they trust and respect, or that they see as an equal. And you calling that person in might be all that it takes to make the injustice stop. Or it could go the other way, which is you call Jennifer in and she escalates. That she now starts to act up towards you, or act more aggressive towards Trina because of what went down. So here's what I want you to do at that point is strategy number 3, and that is find your voice. So when I say find your voice, I'm saying you might have to speak out and openly about what you've seen. Now, when I say out and openly, I'm not talking about your feelings. Don't get emotional about what you have to say. Don't be emotional in what you have to say. Facts matter more than feelings. So be measured with your words and stick to the facts. Find your voice to talk about the facts. Well, last year, Trina won the Innovation Award or the Leadership Award, but yet a month later, Jennifer wrote her up for blah, blah, blah. That's a fact. I was in a meeting on May 1st at 8:16, and I heard with my own ears Jennifer say blah, blah, blah. And Bob came to me on June 19th and told me that he saw Trina crying after Jennifer said blah, blah, blah. Find your voice, speak to the facts, stick to the facts, not in your feelings. It's not about your emotions. Don't be angry. Don't be crying. Don't be yelling. Just stick to the facts and find your voice. That's the third way to stand up to injustice. Now, the fourth way to stand up to injustice is follow the chain of command. So when I say follow the chain of command, there's a hierarchy in every organization. And you have personnel policies, grievance procedures, reporting procedures. If you don't have those things, then maybe your organization really does need me to come in and help you. But I'm pretty sure you got a policy and procedure manual that when you see stuff wrong, who you're supposed to go to next. And if you're talking about at the senior leadership level, again, these are people who report to the CEO. The first place you might need to go is to the CEO. Or maybe you need to go to HR. Or maybe HR is complicit in everything that's going wrong. I don't know your organization, but I've seen them both. I've seen HR be complicit. So in this circumstance, HR is the one that helped Jennifer reorganize the office and rewrite the job description so Trina wouldn't qualify. That was foul. So I wouldn't go to HR in that circumstance because they was a part of the problem. But I would go right to the CEO. And if the CEO, again, thinks that Jennifer is the pet leader, the one that everybody loves and the one that everybody, he supports her wholeheartedly, unconditionally, and won't listen to reason, well, then that's when you might need to go to step 5, which is consider external sources. So what's an external source? It could be the board of directors. Yeah, you might want to go to a corporate board of directors. Or it could be going to Glassdoor and talking about the culture in your organization. It could be reporting it to a legal entity. Like if your company or industry is governed under any like federal or state regulatory authority that's supposed to protect the interests of employees and workers, you may need to go there anonymously or not anonymously. I'm not sure, but I'm telling you this much. You need to consider going to an external source if you gathered your evidence, if you've chosen the right battles to talk about this, you found your voice to say something about it, and you follow the chain of command, and the injustice is still happening in your workplace, you might need to consider an external option. Seriously. I wish it wasn't the case that you had to do these things, but I'm telling you right now, we need more people who are willing to do the right thing. There's never a wrong time to do the right thing. So even if you know about injustices that happened a year ago, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing, particularly if the situation is still going on. That's what I need you to do. That's what the most admired leaders do, is that they do something about the things that they see wrong, because they have a plan and a process and a strategy to stand up to injustice. And I've given you 5 things to do, and I'm going to repeat them, and I'm going to close. And I appreciate you being with me. Number 1, the first way to deal with injustice is to gather evidence. Document, document, document. Number 2, choose your battles. Figure out when is the right time to say something. Number 3, make sure that you find your voice and choose your words carefully. Stick to the facts, not your feelings, not the fiction. Number 4, follow the chain of command. Follow the chain of command. And if the chain of command doesn't help you to resolve the issue, number 5, consider external options. Go to an outside regulatory authority, body, post it on Glassdoor, post it on Indeed, whatever external source that you might be able to shed light on the situation. And I know a lot of people want to stay anonymous with stuff like this. I think anonymity is good sometimes, but other times it don't help. Because I've had some executives say to me in some organizations, if you're not willing to put your name by what you want to tell somebody, how do I believe it's true? Why are you hiding? Well, we know that people hide because if they're in a culture that is unsafe, there's no psychological safety. If they don't feel safe enough to speak up at work, that's why they're hiding, which means the whole culture is toxic and needs to be thrown away. So you got to really, really, really find a way to be on record about these things. You got to find a way. It's too important of an issue. And if you're in a culture that doesn't create psychological safety for people to speak up, then I'm going to tell you what you need to do. You need to send me a direct message right now. And you need to find a way to help me to come and speak at your organization. Because I can lay it out from a factual, academic, research-based, but most importantly, sharing some of these stories in the right way to let your leaders know that this is not okay to have a culture where people don't feel safe to speak up. See, I worked a long time in healthcare. And healthcare is the kind of environment where everybody needs to speak up. It don't matter what your role is. Everybody needs to be able to speak up because things will go wrong in a highly complex, highly matrix environment. Everything will go wrong. One thing will go wrong that could be deadly. So let me give you a simple example. I'm pretty sure you've been to a doctor's appointment that when the physician comes into the room, they always wash their hands and dry them before they touch a patient. I don't care if you're going to a dermatologist. I don't care if you're going to an eye doctor. I don't care if you're going to a primary care physician. They should be washing their hands when they come into the room. Why? Because hand hygiene is incredibly important to minimize infections. Other medically acquired or hospital acquired conditions all start with washing hands. And sometimes physicians get busy, they lose their routine, they're stressed, they got a lot going on, that they may come in a room and forget to wash their hands. But if the nurse or the patient care technician or the assistant that's in the room with them see them not wash their hands, that person should feel safe enough to say, Dr. Bombay, you didn't wash your hands. And Dr. Bombay says, oh, I totally forgot, and wash his hands, then take care of the patient. But if Dr. Bombay says, don't you dare talk, don't call me out in front of a patient, you better not, don't say that ever again. That's not a psychologically safe workplace. It's not. And not only that, that's an injustice for a physician leader to yell at a person like that. It's not an injustice for that nurse to protect the safety of that patient by saying, don't touch that patient till you wash your hands. That doctor should say, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the good catch. Thank you for saving me from making a mistake. So these things happen in healthcare, but they happen in every industry. So you got to have some psychological safety for people to stand up to injustice. And it starts with you as a leader standing up to injustice first, because you can't expect your frontline employees to do the things that you're not willing to do. You cannot expect your team to do the things that they don't see you do. And you as a leader have seen more injustice than you want to even admit, especially if you've been there a long time. You've seen so much foul stuff that you've just let go on for years, maybe because you didn't have the confidence, the capacity, or the skill set to do something about it. Well, now you do. Gather evidence, choose your battles, find your voice, follow the chain of command, and consider external options. Those are 5 strategies to stand up to workplace injustice. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope you got value out of this morning. I know it's early on Wednesday, but I want to give it to you. And Sandra, if I can be helpful to your son's company, I'm happy to come and speak to their team. Shoot me a message, put me in touch with him, and I'll get my team on it. We'll have a conversation to see if we can make something work, because I really do believe that that is important. It's important for us to solve these problems, and I'm committed to it. This is my life's work and my ministry, is to help leaders get rid of the injustice in their workplace, to build a world-class culture, and for those leaders to become a leader that everybody will admire. See, the people that we admire around the world throughout history are the people who stand up to injustice. If you don't believe me, I'm going to close with giving you 5 names of people who stood up to injustice, and they're world-renowned, historically renowned, admired by people all across the world because they stood up. Number 1 is Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Number 2 is Gandhi. Number 3 is Muhammad Ali. Number 4 is Mother Teresa. Number 5 is Malcolm X. You don't have to agree with everything that they do. You don't have to share their religion or share their faith. You don't have to share anything. But these 5 names that I just gave you, I'll give you another one, 6th one, Nelson Mandela. They all saw injustice and they did something about it. And because they chose to stand up to injustice, not just in the workplace, but in the world, that they made a big impact. They became leaders who changed lives for the better, made the world a better place. And not only that, they've all passed away. They're all long gone at this point. But we still remember who they are and what they did. So my question to you, leading your teams, working where you work, do you want to be a leader who is admired and remembered long after you left your workplace? If you do, this video will help you to get started on that journey, and I can help you to get started on that journey. So I want to thank you for watching. I want you to have a phenomenal Wednesday, Wu-Tang Wednesday. Remember that, Wu-Tang forever. Wu-Tang is for the children, and it's Wednesday. Have a great day, and y'all keep rocking out, and I will see you next Wednesday for Leadership Live with Anton Gunn. Everybody have a great day.